In this video, we will talk about the bones of the wrist, or the carpus as it is called in Latin. In other words, the carpal bones. I will rely heavily on this very nice GIF provided by Database Center for Life Sciences at the University of Tokyo. The attribution and link to the image is provided in the description below. We start with the posterior view of the left hand, in which the carpal bones are colored. There are a total of 8 carpal bones, in 2 equal rows of 4 each, which are distinct enough to merit individual names. We begin with the most lateral bone of the proximal row, which is by the thumb. This bone is called the scaphoid, which is an adjective that means boat-like. The name derives from the bone's resemblance to a boat and used to be called the navicular. However, another boat-like bone found in the ankle is called the navicular also. So if you want to avoid confusion, use scaphoid. As you can see in this figure, most of the articulation between the carpus and the radius is between the scaphoid and the radius. The next bone in the proximal row is the lunate. Luna means moon in Latin, and lunate means moon-like. The bone got this name because of its crescent shape. The lunate also contributes to the articulation with the radius. The next bone is the triquetrum. This word derives from the Latin word triquetrus, which means three-cornered. This bone is also called the triangular, but if you want to be fancy, call it the triquetrum. The last bone in the proximal row is partially concealed by the triquetrum and is called a pisiform. If we rotate the image to get a better view, we can see that this bone is shaped like a P, and the word pisiform means shaped like a P. This bone is a sesamoid bone because it develops in a muscle tendon, the tendon of the flexor carpi ulnaris. In the distal row, the most lateral bone is called the trapezium. The bone gets its name from a Greek word, trapezion, which means little table. A trapezium is 6-sided with 2 faces and 4 sides, hence its resemblance to a little table. The next bone is the trapezoid, which is very similar to the trapezium in both meaning and in spelling. You can easily mistake one bone for the other, so how do you remember which is which? The easiest way to remember that the trapezium comes first and the trapezoid second is simply to put the bones in alphabetical order. The trapezium comes first and the trapezoid second in alphabetical order. The third bone is the capitate, and the word capitate means having a head. Why is it called this? Here is an image of the isolated bone. Note that the bone has a rounded proximal end, which suggests a head. Finally, the last bone in the distal row is called a hamate. Hamate means like a hook. If we turn the hand around and look at the anterior side of the bone, there is a process that looks like a hook, which is called a hamulus, or little hook. Hence the hamate is a very apt name. Here is an anterior view of the carpus. Reviewing all 8 carpal bones, in the proximal row there is the scaphoid, lunate, triquetrum, pisiform. In the distal row there is the trapezium, trapezoid, capitate, and hamate. Let's end this video by looking at how you can remember the names of these carpal bones. First, we can arrange these bones according to their position in the frontal plane, or their closeness to the thumb or to the pinky. We can also place them in either the proximal or distal rows. In the proximal row, going from thumb to pinky, we have the scaphoid, lunate, triquetrum, pisiform. And in the distal row, Again, going from the lateral side to the medial side, we have the trapezium, trapezoid, capitate, and hamate. But how can you remember this? There are some mnemonic devices or memory aids you can use. One that I like is using a sentence to remember the first letter of each name. Here is an example. So long to Pinky, here comes the thumb. If you didn't like that one, you can try this one. Some lovers try positions that they can't handle. For some reason, my students seemed to prefer the second one. This concluded yet another exciting video. As always, with my recent videos, you can access a link to a quiz in the description below. I used 2 images in this video from the wonderful Creative Commons. Here they are. I know some people, like my daughter, watch my videos only to check out what Apollo was doing at the end. So I thought I'd mix it up a little bit by showing you this video of Apollo's girlfriend, Penelope.